Welcome to another episode of the Bandage podcast, a weekly wrap-up of the most trending healthcare news. Each week, join me and my co-host Alex Ross as we'll discuss the latest in healthcare, health IT, and compliance.
In this week's episode, we discuss a new price transparency tool in Florida, new regulations on baby food, Google getting into the healthcare space bit by bit, Chipotle's new 2020 healthcare benefits, and access to health records for veterans. Let's wrap things up. This is episode 6 for the week of November 11th. I'm Matt Moneypenny.
And I'm Alex Ross.
Before we get started, our diagnosis code of the week is W22.02, walked into lamppost.
Well, Matt, you're probably wondering why I'm wearing this hat today.
For those listening, he's wearing an English hat.
It happens to be one of my favorite hats, much to the chagrin of my better half. She hates it, but yeah, actually this morning, as I was walking to work, heading up the sidewalk, phone in hand, like, millennials do, not looking up, texting away, whatever I'm doing with my phone there, and wasn't paying attention and walked straight into the lamppost.
So before you got to work, you walked into a lamppost, went to the doctor, got diagnosed with W22.02.
Right.
And made it to work on time.
Right. I was walking to work, so I gave myself plenty of time.
Wow. With that, let's get right into the news. Florida launches price transparency tool. Florida launched its new website, Florida Health Price Finder, which shows the prices of medical procedures in the state. Prices are broken down by county, state, and national averages. The site will make it easier for Florida residents to know how much they will pay before visiting a healthcare center for medical work. Alex, this is a huge push towards price transparency.
I like it.
It's unprecedented at the moment.
Absolutely. I guess you could say that the Sunshine State is shining a light on medical prices. I'm sorry, I had to. I think medical, healthcare providers at some point have to implement some kind of price transparency because, whether we like it or not, competition is good for the market. It's good for both the prices for consumers. It's also good for quality of service. If you're offering a service at a premium price, then people expect that to come with premium service as well. And so I think this kind of brings things into the light and lets people make a little bit better informed decisions about where they're going to seek care.
Yeah, I think price transparency is a huge trend right now in healthcare, and a lot of people are struggling to figure out how to do it. So I'm wondering if government-run price transparency is the way to go.
Oh, gosh. I'm not going to get political on this podcast.
Right. Well, it's not political in the terms, but Florida is launching this website themselves.
It's
and we
Florida.
all know how, the healthcare bill that passed in 2012, how long it took for that to implement. So I'm wondering if this is the right path or not.
I do wonder if Florida is the right mode of transport for this endeavor. The way I see it, wouldn't insurance providers want to have that kind of oversight? Like, think about it. If prices are transparent and competitive, and so therefore some organizations with lower prices do better, and so the prices kind of come down a little bit, wouldn't that be great for the insurance company?
It would be good for the insurance company. And
that's
why I'm kind of curious.
Not that they're paying for it. No, I'm kidding.
That's why I'm kind of curious if government versus private is the way to go. But, I guess we'll see in the future.
Sure. I do wonder how much it would cost to get this throbbing lump on my head from the lamppost checked out in Florida.
Yeah, exactly, right? See, you can go there. If you ran into the lamppost in Florida, you would definitely know immediately.
I could keep looking at my phone and go ahead and check that price. Next up, healthy babies, bright futures. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, is implementing new health regulations for baby food. A group called Healthy Babies Bright Futures tested 200 baby food products, including formula, cereal, teething biscuits, and rice puffs. 95% of the foods tested positive for toxic chemicals, including arsenic and lead, that could affect child brain development and IQ. Higher risk foods were rice-based products, sweet potatoes, and fruit juices. Puff's baby snacks made with rice had the most arsenic of any other baby food tested. Researchers are worried about the long-term effects of these chemicals.
Yeah, the fact that they're finding arsenic in baby food is pretty alarming. Nutrition starts, like being healthy, having a healthy lifestyle starts when you're an infant. And that's probably one of the most important times to have the right nutrition. And the fact that they're finding arsenic and lead is it's pretty enraging, I'd say.
I think you would be surprised how much of our food has toxic chemicals in it. In fact, the way we handle that today through the FDA is we set a limit of how much of that can be in there. Yeah. Like at this point, now it becomes dangerous, and so it's too much. So I do want to know a little bit more about this story. I want to know if it's like we tested it and there were trace amounts that would never actually cause harm, or if it was like significant, like we need to pull this off the market now and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, if you have a point there. If it's one of those where it's like, oh, there's trace amounts and the FDA says that then obviously it's been tested before and it's really not that harmful, and this could just be something that's just like a slam piece of news.
Right.
But I still think it's kind of alarming. Arsenic is pretty scary.
Sure. We obviously don't want those in our food.
Yeah.
And we should do the best job we can at keeping those out of our food. At the same time, though, I wonder if this is a bit overblown.
Next up, Google makes a bit more progress in healthcare. Apple Watch is currently dominating the market in wearables, especially within North America. The Google parent company Alphabet purchased FitBit, a similar wearable health device, to keep up with rivals like Apple. Google's rivals are pushing more into the healthcare space as their next business strategy in the tech world. But Google has remained quieter with its healthcare efforts and hasn't been publicly pushing healthcare as a business proposition. Alex, I think a lot of Google fans here are semi-excited, but also let down at the same time because they want and have been foaming at the mouth for a Google Pixel Watch.
Yeah, but we're going to get it now.
That's true.
Now we've got the basis of the technology. Fair warning, I am a Google fanboy myself. I've got my Pixel phone. I've got my my Stadia gaming service on pre-order right now. And I also have a Fitbit that I wear every day, and I really enjoy kind of looking at my day and seeing what I was doing, the reminders to kind of get up and move, those kind of things, setting goals for myself to improve my own wellness. I love that. And since I love both of these companies, really, I'm excited to see what Google is able to do with this. I think Google really leads the way in terms of design, especially compared with Fitbit, which already is a phenomenal product. But Google is, it's Google. They have sleek and futuristic and, on the same level as kind of the Apple stuff. So I'm excited to see both in terms of how it'll look, but also if they're going to add in that kind of connectivity, with your, cellular network and all of those different things that you can do with a typical smart watch.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting for those Google fanboys, but I also think that there is some sort of concern here, and there should be some sort of concern. And like anything with healthcare and moving into healthcare is privacy and data, right? So
right.
Google has a past of not dealing with people's data necessarily in the most secure ways.
Who does? So, in the tech space, who does?
Right.
We're just now getting to that point where we realize that our tech sector needs to take it more seriously. And so, Google may not have a pristine reputation, but neither does anyone else. Hell, Fitbit probably doesn't.
Yeah, right.
But that's just me defending Google because I like them. I do regret, though, selling my Fitbit stock that I had sitting around for years and years doing nothing. And now we get this news, and it probably would have looked pretty good.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where it's like everyone wants healthcare products that are helpful, that are wearable. And there's obviously those data privacy concerns. But at the same time, it's kind of a trade-off. And maybe people think that if these are developed and the technology is enhanced, then the privacy will come later.
Just pulled up the stock trends for Fitbit, and I really do regret. I sold probably back here a couple months ago when it was around like $3.75, $4 a share. And just in the last week or so, we're up at like $7 a share. So That's too bad. Next up, Chipotle provides new health benefits, and we don't mean from their food. Chipotle Mexican Grill announced that it will offer access to mental health and financial wellness benefits to more than 80,000 workers in 2020. Mental health and emotional support will be provided through in-person, phone, or virtual visits with a licensed counselor. Workers and their families can take advantage of this benefit even if the employee isn't enrolled in the company's medical plan. Chipotle partnered with ACO to give employees use of its financial counseling platform to also improve financial health.
It's always great to see huge companies provide new health benefits to their employees regardless of how much money they're making. But it's kind of ironic coming from Chipotle, considering all of their E. coli scares in recent years.
Right. You'll notice that a lot of these stories about kind of, I guess, next level futuristic type benefits seem to come from companies that really target the younger demographic. Yeah. I mean, think about it. You go to a college campus and you're going to have a Chipotle within walking distance. You're going to have a Starbucks within walking distance. I mean, Starbucks provides some scholarship type stuff and health benefits. Chipotle provides health benefits and financial counseling. It seems like these companies, they're really responsive to the type of people that both eat there and the type of people that work there.
Right.
And kind of set the trend for moving forward what all of the other companies are going to have to follow. Because if I worked at Chipotle while I'm in college and I get out of college and I'm looking at companies, if they don't provide these kind of benefits that I enjoyed as a Chipotle worker, I'm not going to like that company anywhere near as much. So I think that's going to set the standard for other companies moving forward in the professional marketplace.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Starbucks there because I feel like Starbucks was kind of the trailblazer in offering these types of health benefits to their employees. And for whatever reason, every time I see a Chipotle, there's always a Starbucks either within the same area or connected to it. So,
I'm trying to think about that. And I think you're right.
Yeah. It's like a Taco Bell and a KFC type deal. Because they're owned by the same company, but Starbucks and Chipotle aren't. So it's just kind of interesting.
They're probably colluding. No, yes. they just share a target demographic. So they pop up next to each other because they know people will go get their lunch at Chipotle and then head over to the Starbucks to do their studying.
Apple allows veterans to access medical records. Apple teamed up with Veteran Affairs so that veterans can access their health records via iPhone. Veterans can access the health records feature in the iPhone Health app by signing into their provider's patient portal in the app. The health records feature provides convenience so veterans can take a more proactive role in their healthcare in an easy-to-access digital space within a privacy-compliant environment. Alex, I wonder if this is related to VA's breach that we talked about in last week's episode with all those patient records being leaked. Maybe they were working with Apple to do this and some patient records leaked out.
It's possible. I noticed in this story that it mentions signing into the provider's patient portal within the app. So that seems to imply that this really only works if your provider offers that patient portal. A lot of providers don't. I mean, it's not necessarily a given when you visit a provider that they're going to have an online patient portal where you can view things like that.
Right. And I wonder why they're choosing to go with veterans first. Maybe it's just because the Veteran Affairs were more willing to team up with Apple and do this, but it's kind of interesting.
Right. I also am interested to see kind of how they translate that experience onto a phone screen. And I guess why it's beneficial to have that happen within the health app as opposed to just, outside of that in the browser. Is it more secure? Right. Does it provide any additional benefits?
Yeah. Why would I choose to go into the iPhone Health app over my provider's portal app?
Maybe it provides an extra layer of security because you have to log into the health app or, anything like that. Maybe that's what they're going for there.
Yeah. I wonder if, this is kind of a side note, but I wonder if there's a risk for if you lose your device, your Apple device, and you have set up iPhone Health app with this connection, can someone get in there and see all of your health records?
I'm sure that they thought of that, right? Yeah. They had to.
It seems like a no-brainer. With that, let's move on to our next segment.
BREACH, Breach Patrol. It's a breach! All of the latest cybersecurity breaches.
Welcome to Breach Patrol, where we talk about the latest cybersecurity news from all across the world.
First up, malignant or malicious virus. A digital skimming group recently targeted the American Cancer Society. Sanguine Security detected malware embedded on the cancer.org shop, which would intercept payments. The skimmer loader hides malicious code behind the legitimate Google Tag Manager code. It searches for checkout, then loads the actual skimming code from a server hosted by a Russian network that's popular among skimming groups. The skimmer has been removed from the site, which is now clean.
For those who don't know, Google Tag Manager is used by a lot of website administrators for search engine optimization purposes, just to kind of see, hey, what happens when someone clicks on this? What's the funnel throughout my website and what happens? So the fact that they could just search checkout and then find everyone who's doing checkouts and then take all of their financial records. So whenever someone searches for or uses the word checkout or clicks on checkout within their website, which happens to be American Cancer Society's cancer.org, they would then see everything, load up that malicious code, and then skim for all the activity, right? So they would see that web page, people are entering in their financial details, and then they would have a recording of that.
Yeah. I can't say I know very much about how digital skimming happens. I mean, I think of skimming as like you go to the gas pump, stick your card in it, and some malicious device reads that information and transmits it to some other party. I didn't know that it could really happen that same way online.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that the Google Tag Manager code is basically just a code that people put in their heading of their website. So every web page has this code within it, just so that it can track it, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact that they use that legitimate code and then after they search for checkout, they import this malicious code, that's pretty impressive from a hacking perspective, but it's also scary. Next up, facepalming over another Facebook breach. Facebook quietly revealed that the names and profile pictures of users connected for groups were accessible by approximately 100 developers. Before April 2018, group administrators could give the application developers access to this information. The information has since been restricted to just the group's name, number of users, and post content unless users opt to share their name and profile pictures. But the app retained access to this data until recently, and about 100 developers may have accessed it. There's no evidence of abuse, but Facebook is asking the developers to delete any group member data that they may have kept, and audits will take place to make sure that they comply.
I'm nearly laughing about that second to last sentence there. Facebook asking developers to just please delete the data.
Please save our PR and delete the data.
Please don't do anything bad. We wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, Facebook has had a lot of issues with user privacy lately, and this is just another example of that. Granted, it's not that bad. I mean, it seems like it's more of an internal breach than anything.
Even
unless
still,
they outsource developers, but it's still kind of
the information they seem to be able to grab. It really doesn't seem like that important. I mean, it's names and profile pictures, which are both public, like on Facebook. Even if you don't have a Facebook account, you're not friends with them, you can see those two things. I guess the only part of it is what groups are they linked to.
Right.
And as the administrator of that group, you can see who's in your group. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here and why this is such a challenge.
Maybe after their huge privacy, and this is just me just kind of thinking here, is maybe after that huge privacy scandal they had last year with stealing people's data and selling it, right? They created some sort of policy where it's like if any type of breach happens, they have to publicly release it as a way to kind of be like, hey, we're looking out for you guys now. So maybe this is a result of something like that, but I'm not exactly sure.
Right. Well, good thing there is no evidence of abuse, but that doesn't mean Facebook has quashed the very specific advertising targeting.
Yeah.
I saw an ad the other day that was like targeted to my neighborhood where I live and to one of my specific interests. Wow. It was like, we're looking for people interested in this neighborhood. I'm like, what the heck is going on? how do you know this? I mean, obviously the advertiser doesn't know that.
Right.
It's Facebook
It's
who just
metadata.
pairs it up. But if I like that post or like the page, they know that I fit that category now. Facebook provides a very interesting, kind of creepy, and ultimately concerning advertising platform. Next up, summer breach leads to the fall of all Desjardins members. The Canadian banking company, Desjardins Group, was just informed that a data breach impacted all 4.2 million of its members. The breach was discovered in June, but Desjardins has just revealed how many fell victim. So far, there is one suspect linked to the breach who worked at the company. The breach exposed the customer's personal information, social insurance numbers, addresses, and spending habits. Since July, all members who do their banking here have been protected by the company's identity protection at no cost. All members are also eligible for a 5-year credit monitoring service from Equifax, paid for by Desjardins.
It's very ironic that they're offering Equifax credit monitoring, who just had a massive breach, and now they have a massive 4.2 million user breach as well. That's insane.
I'm betting something like this happened before that Equifax breach, and so it's like, here, have some protection, and you just get breached a second time.
Like,
can you imagine?
Yeah, that would be awful.
How unlucky can you get?
Yeah, what's interesting here is that they linked the breach to someone who works at the bank. And I'm not going to try to pronounce the bank's name because I will butcher it and offend all of our Canadian users.
Yeah, I will apologize. It's a French name, and I definitely messed up the pronunciation multiple times. You'll notice I pronounce it differently every time. I mean...
But yeah, this is just another example of how important it is to ensure that your employees are trained in compliance and that they're satisfied with their working conditions, because we don't really know here, but maybe the employee was dissatisfied with their working environment and was just like, hey, I'm going to sell this information to the highest bidder on the dark web.
I mean, that's not necessarily saying like the company should have capitulated and given them whatever they wanted.
Right.
But, keep tabs on your employees, see how they're doing, make sure everything's going well, and, foster an open and honest conversational kind of environment so that people can talk about work environment issues. It also exposes kind of a challenge with their system that one person is suspected of being able to breach 4.2 million users. I mean, that's significant. Who has that much access?
Yeah,
why? And shouldn't there be some kind of safeguard where your system says, why do you want to access everyone's information?
Compliance really starts from the top down. It starts with your managers and then works its way and trickles down to the employees. So good luck to all those 4.2 million members in Canada for this bank.
And that's it for this week's wrap-up of your weekly healthcare news. I'm Alex Ross.
And I'm Matt Moneypenny.
And we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of The Bandage. This week's episode was written and produced by Etactics. Etactics is a leading revenue cycle solutions organization committed to providing innovative, web-based solutions that improve our clients' cash management and customer relationships. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.